Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the sources you're interested in and really pull out the key bits so you can get properly informed quickly.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
Exactly. So today we're looking into Australian intelligence, specifically the Australian Defence Intelligence Organization, the DIO.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a document here outlining this key government military intelligence agency, and, well, our aim is to go a bit deeper than just the surface facts. Understand why it works like it does.
That's right. And the DIO is pretty central, really, to how Australia figures out, threats and opportunities, both regionally and globally.
Okay.
Its basic job, fundamentally, is providing these strategic and technical intelligence assessments, stuff that advises defense and government leaders on security issues.
Right, national and international security.
And crucially, supporting ADF operations, too, giving them the intelligence insights they need on the ground.
So they're the analysts, the sense makers, taking all this data and translating it for decision makers. And it seems really important to state upfront, like the source does, that they don't collect the raw intel themselves or do covert stuff.
No, that's a key distinction. Their power lies in the analysis, the rigorous examination of information that's already been gathered.
Okay.
And they focus their expertise on some pretty critical areas, things like defense economics.
Understanding the money behind the military might.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And transnational terrorism, plus weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, all major concerns today, obviously.
Absolutely. So where does DIO actually sit within the whole Australian intelligence setup? The source mentions the Australian intelligence community.
Yeah, it's a core part of that community. It operates under the Defense Intelligence Group, or DI.
DI.
And within DI, you've also got the Australian Geospatial Intelligence Organization, OGO, doing the imagery and mapping intelligence.
Ah, okay. So they work alongside each other.
They do. And the current director of DIO, Major General Matthew Hall, that tells you something about the close military ties. It helps to keep everything aligned, ensures the intelligence flows smoothly to where it's needed in defense.
Got it. So that's the DIO now. But to really get it, looking back helps. How did it start? The source says after World War II, things were, well, different.
Oh, definitely. Initially, military intelligence was kind of split up between the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. They each had their own intelligence directorates.
A bit siloed, maybe?
Could be. But then the need for a more sort of coordinated view led to the Joint Intelligence Bureau, the GIB, being set up in 1947.
JIB, okay. What was its focus?
Back then, mainly geographic intelligence, infrastructure, economic stuff, primarily within Australia's region, sort of mapping out the neighborhood after the war.
Building that foundational picture, the terrain, resources, economies nearby.
That's it. And then, as technology became more important in defense, its job expanded in '57 to cover scientific and technical intelligence, too.
Makes sense.
This setup continued until 1969. That's when there was a pretty big shift with the creation of the Joint Intelligence Organization, or JIO.
Okay, JIB to JIO. What drove that change? What was the idea?
Well, setting up JIO involved pulling together the foreign assessment bits from the three armed services. Yep. The goal was a more unified, more efficient intelligence assessment process, a big step towards centralizing that brainpower.
Right.
Then, fast forward to 1977, and you get the first Hope Commission, making a really key recommendation.
Ah, the Hope Commission. That name comes up a lot with Australian intelligence reforms. What did it do here?
Well, the first Hope Commission suggested creating the Office of National Assessments, ONA. That was set up as an independent body reporting straight to the Prime Minister.
Okay, separate from defense.
Exactly. ONA's job was all source assessments on international, political, strategic, economic stuff. So that meant JIO then had to kind of sharpen its focus back onto purely defense intelligence and Australia's strategic military interests.
A clearer division of labor.
And the second Hope Commission backed that up in 1984. And interestingly, by 1989, JIO had also picked up counter-terrorism responsibilities, reflecting how the world's security challenges were changing.
Right, the threat landscape was shifting. Okay, so we see this gradual refinement, different bodies, clearer roles, and then 1990 is when the DIO, as we know it, is actually born. What finally pushed that over the line?
It was a major review of defense intelligence in 1989, led by Major General John Baker. That review basically concluded that the Department of Defense needed its own single, strategic-level, all-source intelligence assessment agency.
Dedicated just to defense needs.
Precisely, and that led directly to the Defense Intelligence Organization being established in 1990. Major General Baker actually became its first director. It made sure defense had intelligence tailored specifically for its strategic and operational requirements.
And that difference between DIO and ONA being independent, DIO being part of defense, that remains key, doesn't it? The source stresses that.
Absolutely. DIO being inside the defense portfolio means its priorities are tightly linked to defense goals. It's built to respond directly to what defense leaders need to know.
And it's a mix of people.
Yeah, it's an integrated civilian-military setup, but the majority are actually public servants. That blend brings different skills, different perspectives, which is pretty vital for good analysis.
Okay, so bring us right up to today. What does the DIO do, practically speaking? We know its focus is the Asia Pacific.
Yeah, their analysis covers a huge range: strategic, political, defense, military, economic, scientific, technical stuff, all viewed through that Asia-Pacific lens. And the intelligence reports they produce, well, they feed into a whole lot of critical decisions affecting Australia's security.
Can you give us some examples? What kind of decisions rely on DIO's work?
Sure, their assessments are fundamental for planning military deployments, whether here or overseas. So before troops deploy, DIO provides detailed briefings, threats, enemy capabilities, the whole operating environment.
Vital information.
Definitely. Their analysis is also key for defense acquisition, helping decide what kit Australia needs based on evolving threats and what tech is emerging in the region.
Right, so informing those multi-billion-dollar decisions.
Absolutely. Also, decisions about force readiness, developing strategic defense policy, shaping our international defense relationships, even guiding defense science research. DIO's insights feed into all of that.
Wow, okay. So its influence really does spread across almost all aspects of defense planning and operations. The document also mentions close ties with allies.
Yeah, maintaining strong links with allied intelligence agencies is crucial. They share information, collaborate on assessments. It improves the picture for everyone involved.
Makes sense. Strength in numbers or shared knowledge.
And they also engage with other countries, beyond just the close allies, for dialogue and info sharing. It all helps build stronger defense relationships overall. The example in the source about DIO briefing troops going to Afghanistan and Iraq, briefing them on enemy weapons and tactics, that really shows the direct, potentially life-saving impact of their analysis.
Yeah, that really brings it home. And the director being a two-star general reinforces the importance defense places on this role, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It signals the seniority and influence within the defense structure.
Now, just briefly, what about the leadership over the years? The document lists quite a few names.
Yeah, looking at the directors gives you a sense of that evolution. You could trace it right back to Mr. Alan Fleming, the first director of the old Joint Intelligence Bureau in '47.
Okay.
Then as it became the Joint Intelligence Organization, you had people like Mr. Robert Furlonger. And of course, Major General John Baker's key. He led that '89 review and then became the first DIO director in 1990.
The architect, really.
Pretty much. And it's interesting to note, civilian leaders, too, like Mr. Frank Lohenkamp, a senior public servant, served as director. Shows that blend of military and civilian expertise at the top. And the source mentions Major General Matthew Hall as the recent director.
So a mix of backgrounds leading it through its different phases.
Exactly. Military, civilian, they've all shaped what DIO is today.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The DIO. It's the core strategic intelligence assessment body within the Australian Department of Defense.
That's the key takeaway.
It evolved from earlier bodies, JIB and JIO, and now it's the single dedicated all-source analysis agency for defense.
Right. Focusing on analysis, not collection.
And its work feeds into just about every major defense and national security decision Australia makes, especially concerning the Asia-Pacific.
Couldn't put it better. It's a vital piece of the Defense Intelligence Group, applying that specialized assessment skill to a really complex world. Understanding DIO gives you real insight into how Australia handles security challenges.
It does, and thinking about that, given DIO relies purely on analysis in today's world, which is just flooded with information, good and bad, even disinformation, well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the unique challenges, but also maybe the strengths of an agency working like that? Definitely something to think about, how they navigate that information storm to protect national security. Thanks for digging into this with us.